The rest is history. The rest is history.
So one of the questions I also wanted to get to in doing a little research was, we talked about transitioning from not knowing what you're going to do to being a teacher, from being a teacher to being a coach, and then from being a coach to being a full-time consultant traveling. When did the idea first come to write, talk, read, talk, right? Like, and can you talk about that the night or the day that happened?
Sure. So I wouldn't say it was like a singular day. Okay. Most of my reading instruction fell into those patterns where they were talking a little, reading a little, writing a little, talking a little. That actual formula was not something that was preset, but we were doing that without a formal name during instruction often. And then fast forward to my first few years of consulting, my boss really wants all of us out there to put what we know out there, right? He wants us to be a community of authors. And so he said, Nancy, what are your ideas?
Oh, so he challenged you too.
Yeah, I mean, okay. He definitely wanted me to write something, and of course I'm like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
And at the time, coincidentally, and this story's at the beginning of the book, I was switching over to new health insurance because I just started working for John, and so my health insurance is there. Well, I was reading it, and I didn't know if we should stay on my husband's health insurance or get on this one, and it was like, it didn't make any sense to me. It's not fun reading, right? Yeah. So I called my husband and I said, I don't understand all this. Can you figure out whether we should transfer or not? Because I got to fill this paperwork out by tomorrow. Like I was basically pushing it off on him. He's like, babe, I'm busy. You need to just see if it has the stuff we need. And I was like, well, what do we need? And he starts rattling all this stuff down. I said, hang on, slow down. I was like, he said, what's the out-of-pocket maximum? What's the deductible? Do they have maternity coverage? Like all these things. I write it down. Then I'm like, okay, thanks for your help, even though he didn't give me any help. And I go back and I reread it with this kind of list of things I'm looking for. So now I'm reading for a purpose. Okay. And I was able to navigate this like boring, long, dense text because I had this purpose. So I reflected on that.
Now, had the idea for, man, I need a book idea come already, and then it's like,
it doesn't have to come already. No. It was like it kind of. I said, "Oh my gosh!" I just tried to read something just like my kids in my classroom used to try to read something. It didn't make any sense. What did I do? I talked about it with my husband first, and that conversation produced that list to help me focus. Yeah. And then I read with that focus, and then we talked about it again to make sure I understood what I read better. And then I wrote about it, telling them what action I was going to take. What is that? Talk, read, talk, write. I was like, oh, that's even catchy. So I pitched it to my boss. He was like, yes, and kind of the rest is history.